If you've recently seen news about Social Security back payments, retroactive corrections, or money the government owes certain retirees, I need you to pay close attention to your mailbox over the next few months. Scammers read the exact same headlines you do, and right now, some of them are using that real news as bait to make a fake letter feel believable. So today, I'm going to give you a simple, practical way to tell a real IRS or Social Security letter apart from a fake one in under a minute without needing any special expertise. I want to be upfront about something. Both the IRS and the Social Security Administration send out millions of completely legitimate letters every single year. That's actually part of what makes this confusing. You can't just assume every official-looking letter is a scam because plenty of them are real, and ignoring a real one can cost you money and rights you didn't mean to give up. The goal today isn't to make you suspicious of everything. It's to give you a clear, repeatable way to check. If you're not subscribed yet, take a moment and do that now, and turn on the bell. Scam tactics evolve constantly, and almost nobody walks through the specific, checkable details that separate a real government letter from a fake one. That's what this channel is for. Subscribe, and let's get into it. Let's start with the single most important fact, the one that resolves more confusion than anything else I'm about to tell you. Both the IRS and the Social Security Administration almost always make their very first contact with you by mail, sent through the United States Postal Service. Not by phone, not by email, not by text message, not through a social media message. If you receive an unexpected phone call, text, or email claiming to be your very first notice about a tax issue or a problem with your Social Security record, that alone is a major red flag, regardless of how official it sounds or looks. Now, I do want to add an important nuance here, because I don't want to oversimplify. After a real letter has already been sent to you by mail, the IRS may in some cases follow up by phone. But that follow-up call generally happens after the mailed notice, not instead of it. So if a letter genuinely arrived first, and weeks later you get a call referencing that same letter, that's a different situation than receiving a cold call out of nowhere with no letter ever having arrived. Let's go through exactly what a real IRS letter actually looks like, because there are specific, checkable details built into every legitimate one. The first thing to look for is a notice or letter number, printed in the upper right corner of the first page. Real IRS notices use one of two formats: a CP number, which stands for a computer-generated notice, things like CP14 or CP2000, or an LTR number, used for letters drafted by an actual IRS employee. If the letter you're holding doesn't have a CP or LTR number anywhere on it, that's worth treating as suspicious immediately. The second thing to check is whether the letter is genuinely personalized to you. A real IRS letter will reference a specific tax year and form, something like your 2024 Form 1040, not a vague reference to your taxes in general. It will also include your actual name and typically the last 4 digits of your Social Security number, not a generic greeting like "Dear Taxpayer." Scammers often skip this level of personalization because they're sending the same template letter to a huge number of people at once. The third thing to check is the return address. Genuine IRS letters come from a known IRS service center, cities like Ogden, Utah, Kansas City, Missouri, or Austin, Texas, among a handful of others. If the return address looks unfamiliar, generic, or doesn't match a known IRS processing location, that's another signal worth taking seriously. And finally, a real notice will clearly state a response deadline, almost always 30 or 60 days, along with contact information, a phone number and mailing address, printed directly on the letter itself for replying or asking questions. Here's the part I really want you to remember, because it's the fastest, most reliable way to settle this once and for all. You can verify any letter directly through your IRS online account at irs.gov. which will show you any real notices or balances tied to your account. If the letter you received doesn't show up there, or something about it still feels off, call the IRS directly at 1-800-829-140. I want to stress something important about that step. Always use a phone number you find independently on the official IRS website, never the phone number printed on the suspicious letter itself. because a fake letter will often include a fake number that simply connects you right back to the scammer pretending to be helpful. I also want to mention a specific category of real IRS letter that often gets mistaken for a scam, simply because the subject matter sounds alarming. If someone has used your Social Security number to fraudulently file a tax return or seek employment under your name, the IRS will send you a genuine letter about it. Things like a CP01E notice, or letters numbered 5071C or 4883C, which ask you to verify your identity, either online or by phone, before they'll process anything tied to your account. These letters can sound frightening since they're informing you that your Social Security number may have already been misused, but they're a real protective part of how the IRS handles suspected identity theft. The same checks apply here too. Look for the notice number, confirm it references your actual information, and verify it through your IRS online account before assuming it's fake or panicking and providing information to whoever might call you next claiming to help. Now let's talk about the things a real IRS letter will never say, because these are some of the clearest red flags available to you. The IRS will never demand payment through a gift card, cryptocurrency, a wire transfer, a prepaid debit card, or a check made out to an individual person rather than the United States Treasury. The IRS will never threaten immediate arrest over an unpaid tax bill. And the IRS will always give you the right to question or appeal an amount before demanding immediate payment. Any letter that skips straight to pay immediately or face arrest is not how the actual IRS operates, no matter how official the letterhead looks. Social Security scams follow a similar pattern, but with their own specific wrinkles worth knowing about. The Social Security Administration's Office of the Inspector General issued a public warning earlier this year about a noticeable increase in scam emails specifically claiming to give you access to your Social Security statement. One real example that circulated recently had a subject line reading, "Security notice to active your information." Read that again slowly. It should say, "activate," not "active." That single small grammatical error was actually one of the clearest signs the message was fake. The email also pushed a tight deadline and a Download Now button, which, if clicked, was designed to install harmful software onto the recipient's device rather than show any real statement at all. I want to mention one more detail about phone calls specifically, because it surprises a lot of people. Scammers can fake or spoof what shows up on your caller ID, meaning a call can display IRS or Social Security Administration on your phone screen, even though the actual call is coming from somewhere else entirely, often outside the country. Seeing a familiar, official-looking name or number on your caller ID is not proof of anything. If you ever feel unsure during a call like this, the safest move is to simply hang up and call the agency back yourself, using a number you find independently, rather than trusting anything about how the incoming call appeared to identify itself. This points to a broader pattern worth remembering. Scammers frequently copy real logos, real formatting, and even real employee names to build trust quickly. A scammer might call, email, text, or even mail you a letter claiming to be from Social Security or its Inspector General's office, and in some cases, they'll reference an actual person who really does work there, or attach a photo or document that looks like proof. None of that, on its own, confirms anything is legitimate. Scammers research these details specifically because they know it makes the contact feel more credible. The Social Security Administration's own guidance boils down to a simple, memorable habit, something they describe using the word pause. If a message causes a strong emotional reaction in you, fear, urgency, excitement about unexpected money, or pressure to act immediately, that feeling itself is worth treating as a signal to slow down. Take a breath, talk to someone you trust, and resist the urge to respond right away. Scammers are counting on you reacting quickly before you have time to verify anything. I also want to be direct about payment methods because this single detail catches more people than almost anything else. Legitimate government agencies do not request payment through gift cards, gold bars or other precious metals, prepaid debit cards, cryptocurrency, wire transfers, or person-to-person money transfer apps. These payment methods share one thing in common. They're difficult or impossible to trace and nearly impossible to reverse once sent. If anyone claiming to represent the IRS or Social Security asks you to pay using any of these methods, treat that request itself as definitive proof you're dealing with a scam, regardless of anything else about the conversation. Now here's the flip side of all of this, and it's just as important. While being alert to scams matters enormously, swinging too far in the other direction, assuming every official-looking letter must be fake, carries real costs too. If you genuinely owe back taxes and you ignore a real IRS notice because you assumed it was a scam, the consequences are concrete and they accumulate. A failure to pay penalty of 0.5% per month applies to unpaid balances, up to a maximum of 25% of what you owe. That penalty rate can jump to a full 1% per month if you still haven't responded 10 days after the IRS issues a notice of intent to levy. On top of that, interest compounds daily at a rate that's currently 7% for this stretch of the year. Beyond the financial cost, certain real notices, like what's called a 30-day letter, give you a specific window, generally 30 days, to formally request a conference with the IRS Independent Office of Appeals if you disagree with what's being claimed. Throw that letter away assuming it's fake, and you can lose that window entirely, even if you had a completely valid reason to dispute the amount. So here's what I want you to actually do, step by step. First, if you receive any letter, call, text, or email claiming to be your first notice from the IRS or Social Security about a serious issue, don't respond immediately either way. Set it aside for a few minutes and run through the checks I just described. Second, for anything claiming to be from the IRS, check for a CP or LTR number, confirm it references your specific information and tax year, and verify it independently through your IRS online account at irs.gov or by calling 1-800-829-140, a number you look up yourself rather than one printed on the letter. Third, for anything claiming to be from Social Security, remember that legitimate first contact is also typically by mail. Be especially skeptical of any message urging you to download an attachment or click a link to view your statement, and never provide personal information or payment to someone who contacted you unexpectedly, even if they seem to already know some details about you. Fourth, if you ever suspect you've encountered a scam attempt, report it. Forward suspicious IRS-related emails to phishing@irs.gov. For anything claiming to involve Social Security, you can report it directly through oig.ssa.gov/report. Reporting doesn't just protect you, it helps these agencies track and shut down patterns that are likely targeting other people too. Fifth, talk to the people in your life about this, especially anyone who might be a more frequent target for this kind of contact. A short conversation now about the three-part check and the common red flags is far more useful before a suspicious letter or call ever arrives than after one already has. Consider going through an actual piece of recent mail together, pointing out where the notice number, your information, and the return address would normally appear. So the next time something arrives, the checking process already feels familiar rather than overwhelming. Sixth, keep a simple written note somewhere accessible, maybe taped inside a kitchen cabinet or kept by the phone, with the two numbers that actually matter here. The real IRS number, 1-800-829-1040, and a reminder to look up Social Security's number independently rather than trusting any number given to you during an unexpected call. Having those numbers already written down in a place you'll actually see them removes the pressure of trying to search for the right information in the middle of a stressful moment. Here's the honest, full picture, one more time. Both the IRS and Social Security almost always make first contact by mail, not by phone, text, or email. A real IRS letter has a CP or LTR number, your specific information, a recognizable service center return address, and a clear response deadline, all verifiable through irs.gov or a phone number you look up yourself. Neither agency will ever demand payment through gift cards, cryptocurrency, or wire transfers, or threaten immediate arrest. And just as importantly, ignoring a letter that turns out to be genuinely real carries real financial consequences of its own. So the goal here isn't blanket suspicion. It's knowing exactly what to check, so you can tell the difference with confidence. If you know someone who's mentioned hearing about Social Security back payments or retroactive corrections recently, send them this video. That exact kind of real, hopeful news is precisely what scammers like to imitate right now, because hope makes people respond faster and check less carefully than fear does. A few minutes spent learning these checks today could be the difference between a real benefit reaching them safely and a fake one taking something from them instead. That's what this channel is here for. I'll see you in the next one.